bud.
Hi, Ken, what's going on? Hey, are you free tonight? Dude, Steel Panther's in town. They're doing an acoustic set, and I got backstage pass. Ken, what are you doing? Are you Tebowing? What is this, 2011?
Oh, hey, Ken, great job on that report, by the way. I know it was last minute. What the hell are you doing?
It's Tebow.
All right, look, Ken, I know you're high on this whole Tebowing thing, but Tebowing has been sitting in the drawer longer than Fritzy's underpants, okay? Now this is what everybody's doing now.
Thanks, girl. Coming up, I'll give you some really cool tips on how to... The box store starts right now! Hey, come on, man!
I don't know a lot about sports, but I can drink a lot of beer.
My motto is simple. C's get degrees.
Need a long, inappropriate hug? I'm your man.
I think I'm smarter than you, because I probably am.
Howard Coward for box score.
Hello and welcome to the Box Score. I'm Brock in Los Angeles. They are the Danettes in Milford, Connecticut. Guys, we are still very much in the Tom Brady fallout area. Paulie, as a producer, better story, Brady playing, Brady suspended, or does it just not matter with this story?
That's a good question. Man, I think the better result yesterday for our show would have been if Brady was still suspended and missed 4 games, because then you have the Jimmy Garoppolo storyline, then you have more on-the-field storylines of the Patriots. Do they struggle early? Do they play well early? Yesterday, the story kind of ended a little bit. It felt like the story was put to bed. A lot of topics, but as far as like the story being active, Brady's playing, and it doesn't look like anything's going to change that. And so the story from a football standpoint is kind of over.
And then it would have also been, like if they appealed, could he have still played?
Right.
Just like they were talking about, would they be able to do a stay on the other side to keep him out? But there's not enough time to do that.
I think it probably would have been a much closer game with Garoppolo too. I think this is the biggest spread of the weekend.
Yeah, it would have been again. Yeah.
So they could run away with this one. It's theoretical. So I think I think my hunch is it might have been a better game with Garoppolo. I think that.
Well, I would have rather seen Garoppolo because I've never seen him play before.
Yeah.
And everyone's seen Brady play. He usually kicks everybody's butt, and then they win.
I would love to see Garoppolo.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that would have been so much fun. Like, all right, let's see what this guy can do. That's great. That'd be so
I feel
much
bad.
fun.
I don't feel bad for Jimmy, but he's in an uncomfortable position where he can never admit his true feelings. I don't care what anyone says. He was disappointed by yesterday's ruling because not the circumstances around it, but he all of a sudden lost a chance to start 4 games in the NFL.
He's allowed to be disappointed that he's not playing, but is happy that Tom is not suspended, right?
No, he's not.
You can do those. You can have those two things.
You can do
at
it
the same time,
internally.
right?
You can do it internally. You can't say that externally.
You can't?
No, he can't say that. I don't think.
He definitely couldn't say publicly, I wanted to play. That kind of stinks that he's still suspended.
Yeah, you'd have to say that so perfectly. Like, I was ready to play, I was excited to play, and I'm disappointed not to have a chance.
You can
that
spin it
being
like
said,
that.
whatever helps the team, and Tom Brady being here helps the team more than anything.
Right.
And then you're like, okay, that's classy. But deep down, it's like, crap, I was about to start the NFL season prime time.
Yeah, for the Patriots.
Trashing his locker room, that would have been bad. Like that's what
that would have been
I
bad.
would have
Tantrum.
Yeah, no, Jimmy's happy, and so is George Atala from the NFL's Players Association. He called in today and said the ruling is more about the process and less about Brady's innocence.
Obviously, we have our own views about Tom's innocence here. We don't believe that there was enough evidence to warrant a 4-game suspension, and we brought that up with the judge. And I think you heard the judge, at least in the 2 open court sessions, openly question the league's evidence on that matter, particularly in the Wells report. But this decision was about the due process, and most importantly for us, it was about protecting the collective bargaining agreement. And our collective bargaining agreement doesn't allow the commissioner the authority to do some of the things that he did in the decisions that we've seen over the last few years.
You know, I found some of the wording there really interesting because, as it turns out, both sides were interested in protecting the collective bargaining agreement, which is not the way that I originally saw that. You know, it seemed like more the NFL was trying to protect provisions in the CBA, but then to hear George Atala say, like, yeah, we're trying to protect the collective bargaining agreement, that sort of surprised me a little bit because it doesn't seem like it really goes in their favor.
Yeah, I'm curious if George would have come on if the NFLPA and Brady had lost. I'm also curious if Roger Goodell would have come on if his side won. I doubt it. He probably would not want to rub it in people's faces. But I'm curious if he would have done any interviews today if the Brady would have been stayed.
I think George would have come on. That's my hunch. What do you guys? Do you think he would have? I think he would have come on.
Well, no, you do because you want to get your narrative out there. You do want to control the public message, which they've done a good job. I think the NFL did a better job earlier in controlling the message of this story, right or wrong. And a lot of it was obviously not true, but the NFL did a way better job than Brady and the Patriots about controlling the public opinion of this case for the first few months. And that's I mean, everyone thought Brady was completely guilty for the first probably 4 months of this. I mean, there was very few people thought he was innocent and being railroaded in some fashion because the NFL took charge of the story. And then Brady's side, after the Wells report, kind of took charge of the story.
Well, Roger Goodell announced that he's not going to the opener in Foxborough. McLovin, is this more about not overshadowing the event or more of Goodell being a jilted lover?
I think it would look bad for the league if this big game with all these eyeballs, if you see him and he pokes his head out of the box something and boos rain down.
Well, then you just don't poke your head out of the box. You just go to the press box, sit with all your cronies like you do every other year at every other open. And just
he kind of always disappears.
The thing that would have been weird though is that he wouldn't. It's not like he has his own box there. He would have sat in the owner's box with Robert Kraft, and that would have been an odd visual. That I don't know how fans would have reacted to necessarily because Robert Kraft is sort of like he caved early and it really hurt.
I pictured him like if he showed up, he'd be in like some separate. They'd make some arrangement where he wouldn't.
He's always with the owner. You know, that's the way at least I can. Every time I see him, he's usually sitting with the owner and Chris Christie, who tends to go to a lot of football games. So,
is there a handing out of rings at this game? Does anybody handing out rings? Is that
no?
They did that.
Yeah, they already got the rings, but they were gonna have some banner or something like that.
Right. So typically Goodell would be on the field for that kind of thing, I would imagine. Like, what's he do at a normal opener? He probably runs out on the field and says, "Go Ravens."
So you don't have this though. I'm definitely hoping, aside from any type of fandom or anything, that the Patriots win the Super Bowl this year, just so we can have an even more like a period or exclamation point at that moment of all right.
Troy Vincent.
There you go.
Well, we talked about that topic maybe 2 months ago. Which would be the more awkward moment? A-Rod winning World Series MVP and getting the MVP trophy, or Tom Brady win the Super Bowl MVP and getting the MVP trophy? And those are two awkward moments. I pray as a producer happen. I don't care about the Patriots in any way, positive or negative. Yankees, I don't care whether they go 0-162 or 162-0, but I want to see the Yankees and Patriots win the respective titles, and A-Rod and Brady win MVP.
McLovin, does this spell the end of Roger Goodell as commissioner?
I don't think so. I could be wrong, but no, he's survived a lot of criticism. Yeah, it hasn't gone down. I think the owners like him taking the slings and arrows.
I think he was more danger of losing his job after the Ray Rice thing. I don't think he's in near as much danger now because this is, at the end of the day, this is kind of a silly case about a stupid rule.
The only thing, I think it's kind of crazy to think that he's going to lose his job over this too, but the only thing you could see is that like things like this aren't going away. So you can't have too many of these keep piling up, especially like the severity of like whatever happened with Ray Rice or, Adrian Peterson and things like that. Greg Hardy, it's always one after the other. The Deflategate thing is nonsense. Yeah. We all know that, but you can't have too much of that piling up and being criticized among all of them.
He wasn't criticized for Hardy though, was he?
A little bit. I mean, he reduced
Well, the thing is, like, it's complete opposite 180-degree criticisms. One, he was too heavy on Brady. One, he was too light on some other guys. So, like,
the vagueness is the criticism. How the art being arbitrary. But I'll tell you, if it came to a vote, and I was an owner, I would vote for him to be fired. I think there's no upside in keeping him. If I said, man, I could get a new commissioner that makes $12 million a year, and myself and the other owners get to keep $1.5 million each of the $45 million he gets, and I could find a younger, hipper, fresher guy who could be the next guy of the NFL, and I could hire him for $12 million and I get to keep $1.5 million, and I get to get rid of this guy who's not really doing me any good. Looks like Dan said, you could find any educated businessman who's strong and could negotiate these deals. Because Roger Goodell's not the only. He's not sitting at a table alone with CBS,
he's not
NBC.
The only person who got that done.
I saw the increased push.
I don't think there's any.
Arbitrator.
What would be the if it came to a vote and it was a vote, we were all owners in the NFL. What would be the upside to not to support him?
Oh, because the next guy, the guy you described, he might not be a puppet for the owners. Like, you think it's Goodell. You're absolutely wrong. There's a handful of strong owners who push this through, and he is a very loyal spokesperson. Of those
but if I'm one of those NFL owners who was supposedly had his hand up Roger Goodell's backside, is Robert Kraft. Now, Robert Kraft, did he get the benefits of the relationship that he had with Roger Goodell? No, he got bait and switched. And he was probably told, hey, I'm going to give you this if you do this. All right, here's $1 million of draft picks. Oh, we're going to bang your quarterback for 4 games. Am I getting my draft picks back?
Is there any chance they can get those draft picks back or that money back?
I would hope so, because the investigation that led to those draft picks being gone and that money being gone has proved to be, at the best, vague. And so if you can't give Brady 4 games back and not get the Patriots their money back.
Unless the attitude is, well, you were trying to make a little deal to hopefully get Tom Brady, taken care of.
I think that deal is void, though. I would think that deal would be void.
Null and void. You know what? I'm saying it right now. Commissioner Kawakami. He'll do it for a price. All right, stick around.
Yeah.
Dan is heading home, and that may not be good news for any of us. You want some great news? The Ram 1500 EcoDiesel is on the front page, and in bold font, climbing hills, hauling trailers. And you know what? It can easily out-commissioner Commissioner Goodell because it's fair and just. Get more facts at ramtrucks.com. Guts, glory, Ram. Welcome back to the Box Score. Guys, a blast from the past called in today. Scott Van Pelt. Seton, is Van Peasy the mother shipper that Dan has the best relationship with these days?
Man, well, they don't have a bad relationship. To be honest with you, I don't really know what kind of relationship they have, like, outside of doing those interviews. But it's certainly friendly. There's a mutual respect there, for sure. But that being said, I can't really think of... And then, like, who else is he close with? Like, him and Mike Tirico are super cool.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people there, actually, that Dan's really cool with.
Yeah, when he sees them, they hug it out and have a drink, but he's just not on the road with them that much. But I think Van Pelt's relatively close to Dan. He kind of looks up to him a little bit. I wouldn't say mentor, just a guy who's like, I respect the path of career you've chosen, and I'm trying to do similar.
Feels a little big brother.
A little bit.
To me.
I would say
a little bit.
And Dan's giving them advice.
Yeah.
He goes out of his way for a lot of different people to kind of help them with, try to figure out what their career path is.
Dan talked about this in the show, and Scott talked about this on our show once. When Scott was considering his options, he spoke to Dan before he made his, gave his opinion. Dan gave him really honest advice, and I think he appreciated it, and didn't kind of just say like, "Hey, you should leave ESPN," because he gave him a lot of good advice.
There's a lot, actually. There are, when you think about it, we have Le Batard on all the time, ESPN. Kalashaw has been on a lot. He has been very good relationships.
Gammons. Everybody.
Well, I mean, Dan's been around a long time,
Yeah.
And you spend a lot of time on the road. You meet a lot of people. You hang with a lot of people. You play golf with a lot of people.
And
he's got buddies.
And just because he left ESPN, it seems like those relationships have remained intact. Yeah.
Well, Scott Van Pelt is spreading his wings and has yet another show and had quite the announcement for DP.
Who's your first guest?
My first guest, as I announced yesterday to the World Wide Web, is you, supposedly.
Do you have another source? Could you check with Chris Mortensen to see if I am going to be?
Whoa! I got it straight. I got it straight from the inside source there. I have it on high authority from one of the Danettes that you will be kind enough to be our first guest.
Yeah, so I would say maybe 2 months ago when Scott stopped his radio show and was starting the process of preparing his new SportsCenter show, he called and said, "Hey, what do you think of this idea I got to launch my show, have Dan back as my first guest?" He goes, "I haven't brought this up to anybody up here yet, really." And then I said, "Love it." And he goes, "Can you test the waters?" And when I first tested the waters, Dan he kind of seemed ambivalent about it, mostly negative, just like, well, why me? Why would he want me? Not anything against Van Pelt. He's like, I don't know. And I kept asking, and I got to tell you, I had a bit of an agenda because I think it'd be great for everybody involved. I think it'd be great for Scott, for us, for Dan. I don't see a downside to it, and that's how I pitched it to Dan. And it takes a little, sucking up on Dan's side to go back up there, but I think it'll be good for him, and I think afterwards he'll be happy he did it.
Well, Fritzy, Dan has been outspoken about his run-ins with gambling. If you're SVP's producer, are you pitching Dan as the first guest on a new gambling show?
I don't know.
Gambling's only part of the
Yeah.
show.
It's not a gambling show.
I think
It's SportsCenter.
Yeah, I think all things considered, because it's SportsCenter and Dan's background with SportsCenter, you can and not knowing exactly what the element of the gambling's involved or exactly how they're going to use it into to what extent they're going to get into it. That's I could see Dan doing that. I think he's going to have fun with it. I know we look forward to seeing it, and I don't think that would stand in the way of pitching it or for Dan not to want to get involved. I know he likes Scott a lot, and again, because we don't know exactly how much of a gaming or gambling elements involved, I think it's going to be more highlights and Scott Van Pelt's unique take on the sports world of the night, and less about who's covering spreads and things like that.
All right. I'll have to check my sources on that one. Hey, McLovin, you and Scott have a bit of a history after you called him non-athletic a couple months ago. Are you going to send a message with Dan if he heads over there?
I think my message has been sent. I think there's one tall, skinny guy in Dan's life. I think it's me. And just he's tall. Scott's a little taller and a little more talented, a little more successful.
Talented on the court? Talented on air?
On air. In pretty much every way. Scott's got a lot more talent. On the court, actually, he did have some game when he was shooting at the Super Bowl.
Yeah?
He was pretty good, yeah. Scott's got me beat, but, that was kind of like Dan doesn't really have that much space for tall, skinny guys in his life. And I got about an inch on Dan. I think, Scott, you better not steal my friend. Acquaintance.
All right.
More like an
I don't know if I'll be able to
friendly
watch that
acquaintance.
show with Van Pelt. I'm only allowed to watch shows on Audience. Rogue, Full Circle, all the good stuff. All right, coming up. Hey, Danettes.
God.
I'll cut you. Welcome back to the Box Score. Guys, today is a sad day for a lot of people. It's the final day of cuts in the NFL, but a lot of legends have been cut from many teams. So to give those who have been cut from their squads a little encouragement, a game we would like to call How You Like Me Now. I will give you a name of a player. You tell me who originally cut them. It is row versus row.
Ooh.
So,
Awesome.
for you, front row,
Creepers.
who initially cut Johnny Unitas?
Initially.
Oh, I know.
Oh, I know this.
I know it.
Oh, I don't. Oh, man. The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes.
I was gonna
You
say,
are absolutely correct, Paulie.
Maybe I do know these. I swear, the only thing that popped in my head was the Steelers.
Back row, who cut Kurt Warner?
Oh,
Green Bay Packers, and I knew Kurt Warner was next.
I knew it.
I was about to say Green Bay Packers.
I knew Kurt Warner was going to be him.
I literally was about to say Green Bay Packers, Green Bay Packers, Green Bay Packers.
All right. Front row, who cut Wes Welker?
Lex Wexler. The Dolphins.
He played for the Dolphins.
But they eventually dropped him, right?
He's from Texas Tech. Can I try one?
Yes.
The Dallas Cowboys. And I don't know if I'm right.
No, it's the San Diego Superchargers, cut after his first pro game in 2004.
How about that?
We return to the back row. Who cut Jim Plunkett?
Oh.
He was like a high pick.
He's a second overall pick or the number one overall pick?
Paulie, back row question here, buddy.
I'm just trying to mess with you guys. San Francisco.
I guess the Patriots must have come. He had every year, it was like 7
Can we steal?
45 interceptions.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, wait, Plunkett at the end? No, okay.
Well, you guys got a guess.
Well, we should go with the Patriots.
We're going to go New England.
You're wrong. Paulie, you want to steal this one?
Now, are you saying which team first cut him, like when he came into the league?
Yes.
Well, he was drafted by the New England Patriots and started for them as a rookie.
I have that you're both wrong. The answer is the 49ers. He was cut by the 49ers in 78.
I don't know. I remember an old football card with this.
Yeah, you may want to check that one.
I'd be happy to do that sometime over the weekend. Front
Must have
row.
been between the Patriots and the
Who
Bears.
cut Arian Foster?
Oh, that's a great question.
Someone very foolish.
Went to Tennessee. Not a lot going on here between me and you right now.
You might as well have just asked me who the first person to ever speak was. I couldn't even begin to tell you. You asked me who made this.
Tennessee Titans.
We were looking for the Houston Texans.
Oh, a tricker.
And they brought him back?
Yeah,
Guess
passed
so.
through waivers, signed to the Texans, practice squad, and was promoted later in the season. All right. Finally, back row. Who cut James Harrison?
Pittsburgh would be too.
Yeah, would they do double?
I don't think they would do double the same
No.
team.
Double trick
brings them
question.
back.
Kent State.
Brewer?
Maybe an
Brewer?
Ohio team.
That's
That
way
would be,
more
would be
my
a wild
speed.
guess.
Bills? I would say
Well,
Cleveland
Cleveland. All right,
Browns.
let's go
Can't say.
Cleveland.
Cleveland Browns.
The answer I was looking for was Steelers and Ravens cut 4 times in 2 seasons.
Oh, they did it to it.
And
Dang.
then
We
back
should have gone with
later.
the obvious.
Double trick question.
Who won this thing? Let me count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. Okay, it is a tie. That's what my tally says. So congratulations to both of you going into the weekend. Now everyone's a little bit
we were
smarter.
given that.
Hey,
Steelers won
this
on
is
a
the box
silver
score.
platter.
We are taking a break to remind you that the Ram Heavy Duty, with its best-in-class towing, torque, and horsepower, doesn't need one. Head out to the beach or to the back 40 in your Ram Heavy Duty. Have a great time this Memorial Day weekend, or Labor Day, whichever the hell one it is. Guts, glory, Ram. Hello, welcome back to the box score. Closing up shop here. Guys, Jim Harbaugh can't be in love with the show this week. You had Neuheisel in on Thursday, and he documented on what a grumpy pants Harbaugh could be. McLovin, is this pretty accurate across the board analysis of him?
Wow, it's consistent. I don't know if it's accurate. I don't know the man, but it's certainly consistent. Everybody seems to say that he's a bit of a curmudgeon. It's funny, but people don't really hate him. Like Rick was like, I hate him. It's just like, this guy is really just a different cat.
You remember the movie Weird Science, the brother Chet?
Yes.
That kind of makes me think that's what Jim Harbaugh is like, where he's always intense and on and never steps back and takes his foot off the gas. Chet from Weird Science reminds me of Harbaugh.
Yeah. First, I'd like to butter your muffin. Doug Flutie called in today, and Dan asked him would he want to play for his former teammate, and Flutie told it like it is.
I don't know if I could. I don't. Jim and I were with the Bears together. It was '86, and Jimmy's got a harsh personality. We've crossed paths a handful of times over the years. We get along fine. There's no animosity anywhere. But he's just, he's never got his guard down, and he doesn't always give you the warm fuzzies.
Harsh personality, yeah. Wow, I'm surprised you went to me for this question. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where I think sports, you can have a thing like that where you don't have to be a nice guy to get the job done. I guess there's guys like Bob Knight and others who have had a lot of success. But hopefully they know when to take their foot off the gas and once in a while and just let people in. I would bet that Harbaugh's players may have a different story about him.
I think they all love him. Just like I love Todd Fritz. Hey, Todd, who's on Tuesday?
I love you too. We are running a best of Labor Day edition on Monday. Dan and the Danettes will have a nice 3-day weekend coming up. Russell Wilson, Joey Logano, Charles Barkley, just to name a few, will be all part of the
Can you name a few more?
Labor Day special. I can't. I don't have my list with me, but I know Russell Wilson's part of it, and we're excited about that.
And Barkley.
And
Yeah,
Charles Barkley.
fantastic.
And Joey Logano.
Try to enjoy your
Michael may be
weekend,
a part
Todd.
of
I know
it.
you're going to be stressing about
Steph
getting
Curry?
guests and such. Yes, of course. We can't
Not
wait for
Barkley.
him. Before we go, I would like to raise a glass to our beloved associate producer, Morgan. No, it's Megan. We're going to miss you. She's heading off to jump rope in the National Jump Rope League. Have a great weekend. Cheers.
I don't know a lot about sports, but I can drink a lot of beer.
My motto is simple. C's get degrees.
Need a long, inappropriate hug? I'm your man.
I think I'm smarter than you, because I probably am.
Hey, thanks for watching the box score. Holy cow!